Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, when you really boil it down, I think that there are two ways that people build wealth in their lives. Now, the first way, and how the super wealthy people build their wealth, is get a small loan of $1 million from your father. And the second way is get creative. Now, I'm sure for most people watching this video, yo daddy ain't giving you a small loan of $1 million. So in order to build wealth in your life, you gotta get creative. And so in this video, I wanna share 5 different wealth hacks that can add up to $206,708. And literally everybody can implement these hacks in their life. This is definitely not clickbait. El Augustine is far more intellectual than clickbait. Now, the first hack is put credit card rewards in a Roth IRA. Now, I'm not going to make you wait. Let's start off with one of my favorite wealth hacks that can help you build your wealth by $39,478. Now, each month, I put all my non-bill expenses on my credit card, and these are things like gas, groceries, car insurance, eating out, and clothes. And when I get my final balance at the end of the month, I pay it off and bring it down to zero. And the reason I do this instead of spend in cash is because when I use my credit card, I get 1.5% cash back, which is usually $20 each month. Now, I know what you're thinking. $20 is not life-changing money, at least not in the moment. It's not something that can add up to $39,000. Well, it actually can if you get creative, and let me show you how. Each month I get $20 cash back, but instead of getting the credit card company to deposit it in my checking account and spend it right away, I get them to deposit it in my Roth IRA. And if you don't know what a Roth IRA is, I made a video on it up here. But when I get that $20 cash back, it goes immediately in my Roth IRA, which I invest in low-cost index funds with an annual return of about 10%. And if I do this one simple thing consistently and allow it to compound for 30 years when I reach retirement age, this has built up to $39,478 of wealth. $20 cash back won't really do much for you in the present. Maybe you can buy a sandwich with that money. But instead, if you invest it in a Roth IRA, do it consistently, and allow it to grow and compound over time, it can really add up to something substantial. I mean, $39,000 is probably more than 1 year of living expenses for most people in retirement age. Now, the second wealth hack is switch to a real high-yield savings account. Now, this next wealth building hack is something that I honestly haven't done, but I'm about to do because over time, it can add up to $23,135. In many of my videos, I've spoken about the importance of having an emergency fund and separating that money from your spending money and putting it in a savings account. Now, banks often refer to these accounts as high-yield savings accounts. However, most of the time, the interest you gain on these high-yield savings accounts is basically nothing. I mean, the national average is 0.25%, which on a $10,000 account would be $25 in interest a year. And even compounded over a 30-year period, it would only add up to $779 in interest. Basically, no interest. Let's just be real. It's basically a middle finger from the banks. However, certain banks like Ally, PNC, Capital One offer a 4% APR, which on a $10,000 account would be $407 a year. And if you compounded it on this 4% interest rate over a 30-year period, this would be $23,135 of interest, which is a lot more than $779 over 30 years with the normal interest rate. If you have a solid emergency fund and it is just hanging out in one of these low high-yield savings accounts, you should switch it. You should consider switching it over to a real high-yield savings account because this can grow and help you build your wealth a lot quicker. However, I do want to put this buyer beware in. Always make sure your money is in an FDIC insured bank. I've had a few sponsors reach out to me that offer these savings accounts with weirdly high interest rates, but when you read the fine print, you see that their bank isn't actually a bank, and it's not FDIC insured, which you run the risk of losing all your money. You should only put your money in a bank that is FDIC insured, otherwise you risk losing it all. But this one simple action of being strategic about where you put your emergency fund and putting it in a real high-yield savings account can really compound and help you build and grow your wealth over time. Now, the third wealth hack is round up spending and invest the difference. Now, this next wealth hack is so simple that it's almost too good to be true, because over time, it can add up to $61,191. We often think that building wealth takes a lot of money, aka a small loan of $1 million from daddy. But sometimes building wealth can literally mean just pennies if you're creative. If you use a bank like Bank of America or an app like Acorn and Chime, they allow you to round up every purchase and use these pennies to save or invest. And although they're just pennies, they can really grow and compound into something huge over time. For example, imagine buying a cup of coffee for $3.15 and then a donut for $1.85. If you use these apps, they would round up the difference, which would be $1, and would move that into an investment account. And if you rounded up $1 each day, or $31 a month, and invest it in a low-cost index fund, over time, these pennies could compound to $61,191. It's truly amazing how small decisions every day can add up to something huge over time. Sometimes building wealth just means moving pennies to an investment account, investing in a low-cost index fund, and allowing it to compound over time. Never underestimate the pennies. Sometimes it can add up to over $61,000 if you allow it to grow over time. Now, the fourth wealth hack is forget about extra money and invest it. Now, this next hack is something that allowed me to travel to over 35 countries around the world when I was in college working at a minimum wage job. But instead, if it's used to build wealth, it can easily add up to $82,904. Now, depending on who you are and what phase of life you're in, every year there might be some special occasions where you get a little bit of extra money outside your paycheck on things like tax returns, birthday money, work bonuses, or miscellaneous side jobs. And most of the time, when we receive this extra money, we treat it as if it's this little bonus, and we spend 100% of this money on things like new clothes, a vacation, or technology. And although it's nice and important to treat yourself every now and then, it's not always necessary to spend 100% of this extra money to find enjoyment. I mean, oftentimes you can still find enjoyment if you just spend a smaller percentage of the money, and then you can use the other part of the money to help build your wealth. For example, let's say you received a $1,000 tax return, and instead of spending 100% of this money on a bunch of nice things, you got a few nice things and chose to invest half of it in a simple index fund. Over time, that $500 yearly contribution could add up to $82,904. You don't always need to spend 100% of this extra money to find enjoyment in life. Sometimes you can get the same amount of fulfillment just by spending half of that money, and then you can use the other half to build your wealth. And the beauty of this is that you're satisfying your short-term and your long-term enjoyment in life. It can really compound over time if you're strategic with this extra money. And the final wealth hack is have a long-term mindset. Building wealth is actually very easy and it's actually very attainable for most people. However, the problem that most people have when it comes to building wealth is that people want things very quickly and they think they can build wealth by finding passive streams of revenue with no effort, or choosing a crypto coin that will 100x their money, or finding a $100,000 a month side hustle. Most people are so focused on quick, short-term results that they end up never achieving wealth in their life. And the truth that nobody wants to hear about building wealth is that it's actually extremely attainable, but it's only attainable through consistency, patience, discipline, and sacrifice over a long period of time. Take Warren Buffett, for example, who currently has a net worth of $115 billion. Although he has that much wealth, the majority of his wealth was acquired after the age of 66. Warren Buffett has amassed a huge amount of wealth because he has a long-term mindset. And if you want to build wealth in your life, you have to live with a long-term mindset. You can't become obsessed with short-term results or expect results to happen very quickly. But it's about making small decisions every single day that will add up and compound into something huge. And all these wealth hacks that I mentioned in this video require a long-term mindset. But if you have a long-term mindset and implement these in your life, you can build a lot of wealth in your life. And with that, muchas gracias. Que tenga un buen día. Video 130. I'm not posting these at the same pace I am releasing them, so numbers might be off sometimes. Nos vemos, chicos.